What's going on, everyone? Dead by Daylight just released the patch notes for 8.7.0. And ironically enough, I think the last time I made one of these videos was like 7.8.0. I don't know, I could pull it up if I wanted, but I don't feel the need to. But yeah, I've been away from Dead by Daylight for a while. I've been away from YouTube in general. I started posting some shorts lately, and the channel's been experiencing growth, but the common sentiment, at least in my streams from returning subscribers, is I started watching you for Dead by Daylight, where's the Dead by Daylight at? So I've been kind of getting back into it, and actually I really like some of the new killers they added. So for starters, we're going to be looking at Aurella Rose, and from just skimming through everything, she seems like a really well-rounded survivor. Her first new perk is Do No Harm. It's when you heal another survivor, for each hook state they have a 50% faster healing time and gain 3% progress, an additional 3% progress for succeeding a great skill check. And I like this perk. This perk feels good. In the sense that it won't make other healing builds obsolete and will simply be an addition to the bag of healing perks in the game. However, another thing I like that this perk is kind of setting the tone for is that usually chapters that only have one survivor, the survivor ends up being really overpowered or really dog shit. It's never one or the other. Some things that come to my mind immediately are like Mikaela or Ash Williams. Super overpowered on launch, makes everyone buy him. They nerf him later. Now, I mean, Mikaela's lovable. Everyone still plays her, but dude, how many Ashes do you really see today? But Aurella's neither. She's not too overpowered, and she doesn't really seem to be too dog shit, and her perks seem really well rounded. Even before seeing her perks, I was really engaged with just how she looks and her lore too. She has like one of the longer lores of a non-licensed survivor. Kind of makes me wish they would go back and revise some of the lore for older survivors. I know they're trying to do that with the archives, but I wish we could just get it at like a higher frequency. Overall excited if they take this design philosophy moving forward, mostly. Because I want more perks that are going to evenly counter killers or counter stronger killers. Because that's the thing with Do No Harm. Do No Harm is going to work against killers who don't have mobility abilities, which are usually lower tier, and unless you have an insta-down, being able to heal fast is a huge game changer. For some killers, a health state could be the difference between like 45-second chase and a 10-second chase. And there are some lower tier killers that may not be affected by this, like maybe Legion won't be affected by it, Plague won't be affected by it. The Plague isn't low tier, but you know what I'm saying. And so I wish they would put perks that evenly counter all these killers in non-licensed chapters, and then there's ridiculously strong perks in licensed chapters. That's like a big thing I've been noticing they do lately. But on to the second perk, Duty of Care. When you take a protection hit while healthy, all other survivors nearby gain 25% haste for 6 seconds. It's a really cool design for a perk, but in the public test build, it was really buggy with certain killer powers and had some really shitty interactions. Like, usually when I play on the public test build, I try to play like one game of like my 10 favorite killers, and I was playing Deathslinger, and shooting them counted as a protection hit, and hitting them also counted as a protection hit. To be fair, only really like affected things once, because most of the time after the first protection hit triggers, the people nearby are going to run away. But for that one situation where that person got a speed boost twice, they had a speed boost for a little too long. That's really all. And the issue with both these perks are, of course, it's going to hurt the fun killers the most and keep the S tier killers on the top. Nurse is not going to care about your 25% speed boost. Blight is not going to care about your 50% healing speed. Wesker's not going to care about that. Plague's not going to care about that. There's still fun perks, and I think Duty of Care has the most potential to change the Swift game. Like, being able to take a protection hit and almost guarantee the escape of your teammate, or the change to a tile is going to be really strong. It's not going to be super strong against Blight or Nurse or Spirit, but it's going to be really strong overall in those really intense matches against slightly weaker killers. I don't think it would be a bad idea one chapter to make a perk that has a strong effect against just Nurse and Blight, but middling on the killers that are mid-tier like Clown or Slinger. Like, if you did something such as, once you get injured by the killer, you have a timer that starts, and if the killer downs you before the timer ends, they're incapacitated for a period of time. And this could lead the game into more situations. They could try to slug, but the slugging could also come back to bite them because the person you originally downed could be picked up. But that also means they can't damage gens, and they can't pick up people to hook. This wouldn't work with insta-down killers. But yeah, obviously the idea I just spout out was way too strong, but it's like a concept of a perk that would be really strong against Nurse, Blight, Spirit, people who end chases in seconds, because with the right timer, it would only counter them. But then you have a situation of a perk that counters a really niche crowd of killers, or a niche crowd of perks, and it almost becomes useless to keep equipped. An example is, if you've been watching this channel, you know about Hardened and my hate towards it. Hardened only counters Doctor, except it doesn't even counter Doctor because Doctor still makes you scream half the time. Hardened is a stupid perk, should never be in the game. It should have been designed with something else, and Hardened costs real money to unlock. Oh, and on to our third perk, Rapid Response. When you do a fast lock or exit, you suffer from the Exhausted effect. When you gain Exhausted, you see the killer's aura for 2 seconds. Exhausted prevents one from using perks that cause Exhausted. This is really good synergy. You could do Isa Belmont. I've been doing Isa Belmont with Alert, because I hate Alert because it's like a shorter duration. It's too short to really get an idea of what the killer's doing, but with the Isa Belmont boost, it's a little better. Overall, it's gonna have a lot of synergy opportunities. You could use it in chase, and yeah, I think this is like a really cute perk. Now onto the perk changes. So first of all, Dark Theory, Breakout, Champion of Light, and No One Left Behind all got changes to the way their haste is applied, or changes to the amount of haste they are given, all being buffs. This is most likely due to the reason that haste is no longer going to stack. However, it still confuses me a little bit, because I was under the assumption that haste would only stack if there's an effect that has more haste, it would overwrite the other effect, if that makes sense. And so I don't really see the point in buffing these like really weak haste effects, especially Champion of Light. Champion of Light going from 50% to 70% haste is pretty big. That's a pretty big change right there. They also changed some haste perks like Furtive Chase and Unbound. No one uses those perks, so the changes don't really mean anything. And then they reworked Pentimento, which says you see the aura of cleansed totems and can rekindle each totem once. While a totem is rekindled, survivors heal and repair 15% slower, plus 5% for each rekindled totem. Survivors cursed by this perk can see rekindled totems within 16 meters, and if all 5 totems are rekindled, all totems are blocked by the entity. So it's not much of a rework, it kind of just streamlines what people were already using the perk for, just rekindling the first and second totem for the intention of slowing down gen progress by a lot. Like a lot. And, but yeah, this is a pretty good change. You know, got rid of the stupid stuff like recovering slower and opening exit gates slower. And yeah, I think this perk will be in a very similar space, but the nerf of being able to see the rekindled totems from 16 meters is a pretty big nerf, but it's still pretty good. Now to the changes of Hex and Hindered stacking. The effects of Haste and Hindered no longer stack with themselves. While multiple Haste and Hindered effects are active, the largest percent is used. The speed bonus penalty are shown in their respective status effect icons. Perks which affect movement speed now maintain Haste or Hindered in their descriptions. Now, this is a good change. This is a really good change because it promotes more build variety, and I just have to ask, why was this change not implemented forever ago? The only assumption I have is that they didn't know how to program a change like this, and that's why Made for This and Hope plagued the game for so long. My biggest thing is I hope that the timers are going to work properly. For example, if you have one perk that gives you 10% for 20 seconds and another perk that gives you 15% for 5 seconds, when perk 1 activates, it's overwritten by perk 2's effect because it's more haste, right? But when perk 2 ends, I still want the remainder of perk 1's effect after the time of perk 2. So let's say you use the 20 seconds of 10% haste for 3 seconds. Perk 2 activates, and after perk 2, you have 12 seconds of perk 1 remaining. I hope that's how it's programmed. It seems common sense, but Dead by Daylight has neglected common sense in the past. And last but not least, we have the new surrender option. We added a new killer scenario, where 10 minutes after the last generator is completed, the killer has the option to surrender. I don't fully understand the implications of this new scenario, because I'm a strong believer that not the first, but 5 generators popping is the first half of the game, and everything after is the second half of the game. Speaking in literal terms, time-wise, it's not really a half and half split. However, I don't think I've ever been in like a... I'm pretty certain this is just for hackers holding killers hostage. Like, I don't think... Because only the killer has the option to surrender. Survivors don't have the option to surrender. If they gave survivors the option to surrender, it would have to be a vote or something of the sort. And... yeah, so I'm assuming this is strictly for hackers holding people hostage. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. What do you guys think of the 8.7.0 public test build patch notes? And yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.